for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we come to you with humble praise, thanking you for the bountiful harvest of the earth, which provides life-sustaining physical sustenance. But even more are we thankful for the bountiful harvest gleaned from your word that provides spiritual sustenance, even unto life eternal. May we cherish the nourishment provided in every opportunity to demonstrate our daily thanksgiving for all with which you so richly endow. As we come before you this evening, we ask a special blessing upon those here chosen by their friends and neighbors to thus conduct the public business. Give to them the gifts of wisdom and discernment, that they may serve to the greater interests of all concerned. Father God, hold us everyone in the saving grace of your covenantal promises. Show us the light of your countenance and remind us often of our true citizenship. Through Jesus Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God now and forever. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Adoption of the agenda. John said that each IDC
Wants to table till next meeting.
table, so we'll take them off. Any additions or corrections?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda with the removal of HIDC till next meeting.
Motion tabled by Commissioner Bowen,
Second.
second by Commissioner West. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Consent agenda.
Make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Motion tabled by Commissioner Bowler,
Second.
second by Commissioner Lovelady. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Public comments. Hearing none. The Capers 457 plan and optional life insurance discussion.
I think you have the resolution in front of you, actually, since it's Capers 457 plan, it is an option for compensation that can, or deferred contributions that they can make. And I think maybe Chief Intrigan had utilized it before. We've technically been able to do it, but like a lot of municipalities, we've never adopted it. You have to adopt a resolution. We have offered other optional. We have Globe Life, is some others that are coming in, but if we formally adopt this resolution, then it's going to give us an opportunity. It actually takes the load off of Carroll too, because the state does most of the work on it. I guess the question to you guys is, if we move forward with this, which it is a better plan because it's tied in with Capers, but again, it's just easier to manage from the front office personnel. So the option is to still continue to offer the other optional plans, which a few of us do have that or participate in that, but I think there's what, 3 or 4 of us? 3 of us. So we can do away with that. I know Kim and I, we're both probably gonna switch to the Capers 457 plan, but do you guys wanna leave options available to the employees so they can
Or the
choose the
other,
others?
are the other two wanting to switch, or is it something they want to stay with?
I don't know if Kim's asked, I know us.
I believe the other one's Carol, but I have not asked her which. I think we should leave that option available. I mean, we have.
It's a voluntary plan on the,
It just,
employees, so.
it just involves other.
Yeah.
Individuals coming in and having the employees sit through their spill, which a lot of employees don't want to, and we don't force them to, but they do have that option, so.
I would say go ahead and approve it, and give them that option.
So then we just move forward with adopting resolution to get started with the 457 plan as well.
I move that we adopt that resolution,
What number is it?
457.
No,
that's
it's
the,
2023-006.
It's on top of the resolution.
Motion on the table by Commissioner Nye,
Second.
second by Commissioner West, all in favor? All opposed? Consider approval of water fund budget amendment.
Kim and I looked at the budgets before sending out the agenda, and it looked to us that we're sitting pretty good in all budgets with the exception of the water fund. We could potentially make it with it, but we do want a little cushion there because that's where we're at the highest percentage right now, so. I think Kim put a $12,000 amendment to that budget, and that should get us to the end of the year. Barring any catastrophes, we're in good shape.
I'll make a motion to amend the water budget.
Motion on the table by Commissioner Bowler,
Second.
second by Commissioner Lumley. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Public Works, Randy Newton.
All the equipment for the location stuff has come in. They're waiting for Hiawatha to get, put them back with them too. They're gonna come do training, but they wanna be able to do Hiawatha in the morning or afternoon and do us some opposites. That way they don't have to travel up this way once. Hiawatha bought the same equipment we did. So as soon as they get their equipment in and they get it scheduled, we'll have a training scheduled for either morning or afternoon. We get to using that stuff. We've had abundance of water leaks, but we're down to 2 now.
Hoping the rain will help us a little bit with them slowing down.
That it? Any other questions for Randy?
That's for something on the fire department side. Want to do that now, or let's go through it?
Let's go ahead and do it while you're at it.
The current SCBA's that we have are from 1979, 1982. They don't meet the standards. We have looked into it and 2 new ones. Cost $18,573. The fire department would be willing to buy one of them out of our fundraiser. If the city would be willing to match that and pay for the other one, we could have 2 new ones to put on the, Unit 1, which is the first fire truck to any fire.
What is,
Unit 1, the Blanchett, it's the mini pumper.
SCBA, they're
It's
the,
the first one every fire. We can get 2 SCBA's, we can put it on now, and that way we have, replace the ones that are on there.
the air pumps. They put on to go into the fire, to breathe fresh air,
2 of them together is $18,573.
the ones we currently have are 1982.
You guys said you'll buy one out of
We
the,
buy one if the city can buy one, that way we can get 2 on the truck, because that's what, how many holes those 2 on that truck. Hopefully maybe later on down the road, next year or year
you buy
after.
that out of ARPA.
We could, I think I would recommend we buy it out of equipment reserve. We haven't touched that for quite some time. I think it'd be more appropriate, but I think we could probably get by with buying that ARPA, so whatever you want to do. I thought about equipment reserve.
I'd rather spend the ARPA money. We gotta spend it, so And then if something happens down the road and we have equipment that breaks, we still have our equipment reserve sitting there as opposed to not having the ARPA.
And we still may be able to get cheaper. One guy's coming tomorrow and the other one hasn't got back with us, so we may be able to get a different brand, a cheaper price, but either way, we would buy one, the city buy one.
I mean, I think we need to do it, so it's just a matter where we take it out of.
The ARPA money's good until next year? The end of next year?
Yes.
I would make a motion to purchase the SCBA out of ARPA.
Motion on the table, Commissioner Barnes.
I'll second it. But I'll also add that I think that for something that you've had around that long and is that old, I would think that you guys would have known it. And I think them are the kind of things that need to be looked into real seriously going into budget season. So these kind of things can be replaced in a more timely manner. So we're not hit with it, unbudgeted items at that big expense towards the end of the year. So I will second it.
Second by Commissioner West, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Chief Engineer.
I just have two main things besides papers I hand you. If you have any questions on that, please ask. The one is the code stuff and the other is the potential of being shorthanded or doing some on-call status, either when there's multiple options for when or if it's needed and how long, that you can create different options for that. I guess what I'm trying to avoid is some FLSA laws that kind of dictate some of that with on-call status and if you pay, how much you pay, that kind of thing. I know a lot of agencies, at least from the way I understand it, the pay that it specifies, if you pay them for on-call, if you restrict their movement, I've never seen it happen of what the law says they pay. Generally, there's some kind of agreement between the employees and the employer of a different amount that's acceptable to both or what have you. I don't know, I kind of talked to Commissioner West about it some, with the city being on call, that they don't have an on-call pay. I think they do the 2-hour minimum if they get called out or something like that, which that would be like an exemption of finding something that's agreeable both ways. Just trying to have a plan in place if or when on-call is needed for being short-staffed, of how to solve those issues ahead of time or to avoid having to do something last minute or something like that. So get an idea of what to do, whether they get paid, how much, if not, that kind of thing. So also there's on the on-call, to me, it's a logical outcome of the officer that would be on call to take a vehicle home during the time that they are on call. I think that's been done in the past for law enforcement, just to get a rapid response that would be expected for a call. But those are all options essentially have to use a commission to determine what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, things like that. I'm looking for ideas of what would be acceptable. I don't have any set plan or anything with a specified amount to ask for to vote yes or no on. I've seen lots of different options. That's why I'm just kind of looking for ideas of what would be acceptable before just coming in here and asking for something that's a yes or no, and then you still got to figure out the problem. So
Dennis and I discussed this last week, at least 2 days ago. And we discussed different options for it. And I know that, and I support doing an on-call situations from time to time when we're shorthanded, only when we can't cover it by scheduling. I don't support it to be in a norm, like having a whole week schedule, a whole month schedule worked out with every midnight shift and on-call shift. I don't support it if we have people doubled up during the day and then we're on call during the midnight shift. And I understand nobody would like to work the midnight shift, but I don't think that's acceptable either. But I do support being on call. I don't think it's a bad, and I think it's an option that we need to look into. As far as compensating, we talked about different things, and we talked about taking a vehicle home and being responsive like that, and maybe that would be a form of compensation. I know that on our public works side, we're on call from Friday night at 5 o'clock to Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, Friday morning at 8 o'clock, and somebody else takes it over that Friday. And we don't compensate them for being on call, but we do have a 2-hour minimum. So if they get called in for 20 minutes, check on a water leak, they get paid for 2 hours. If it happens the next night, they get another 2 hours. So that's the compensation we do. And that plan there was the same thing that Hiawatha did. I actually put that together, and I called the superintendent at that time that was in Hiawatha, is now retired, and that's what he said they did. So we fashioned it the exact same way, and it's worked out real well. But I know that the on-call for a police department and on-call for a public works department is not necessarily apples to apples, because you could get a call from a police department. It could be a very violent domestic situation at a house, and that's completely different than getting a call because a squirrel crawled up in a transformer and popped a transformer fuse, and now some guy can't watch the last half of the fourth quarter of a football game, or has to use a flashlight for 30 minutes until somebody gets there to refuse the transformer. But after thinking about it over the weekend a little bit more, I thought about it, and I thought, well, I'm afraid that there's a good argument to be made for taking the vehicle home for that type of situation. But we don't allow our public works department to take a vehicle home. And I'm afraid that this could open up, even though it's not apples to apples, it could open up a whole different can of worms, so to speak. And I'm not too sure that we want to do that. I think we should try everything to avoid that. I would probably at this point, have to say, if we're going to do it as of right now, I think we should go ahead and follow the same procedure that we are with our public works department and not allow a take-home vehicle until, we see where this is going and see how short-staffed you're going to be, for how long you're going to be short-staffed. But I think that following the already established procedure would probably make the most sense at this point. But it's just, there's really no good hard fact which way to go on it.
Yeah, and like I said, looking for options, we discussed a whole lot, so.
Can you provide us with, since you're just looking, provide us with call volumes and that type of thing as you look into this further and it comes up, so that we kind of have a good idea of when our high call volume is versus when our low call volume is. I know that this is the first time in almost 20 years we haven't had an officer living in town, so that makes taking home vehicles a little different than it was in the past. So I think those are all things that we need to consider.
And also the issues that we have had in the past for a number of years with the dependability of our patrol vehicles and maintenance issues, and just different things we've had problems with. If we're short a vehicle, then that's going to create more problems, and that's just, I don't know. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. But I do support the idea of being on an on-call.
Do you have any comparisons from other departments on what they do for?
I know Sabetha just went to an on-call status when they took the job here, they're really shorthanded. Both officers live in town, and so they take a vehicle home regularly now, just every single night. I don't know what they pay their public work. They do. So their public works is on call for a week. They get $100 a week, and then 1 hour if you're out 5 minutes, they get an hour. The police department, I believe, did a $25 per day. It doesn't matter how long you're on call, whether it's 2 hours or 12 hours or 15 hours, it's $25 a day. If more than one person covers that, one person does 8 hours, the other person does 4, the $25 gets split between however many people do it. Obviously, the one that's probably working 8 hours is gonna get more than the one that works the 4, but, they just set a total of, you got $25 a day. If one person does the whole on-call period, they get the whole $25. I haven't heard of how it's working. I mean, I have talked to both the chief and the one officer that's left there, and I mean, I haven't heard any complaints, but, like I said, that's the only two they have at the moment, so, I don't know any other departments that have done on-call status. It's been long enough ago that I don't necessarily think it would be applicable for the time, so to speak, of, and I know there's other departments that are probably doing on-call or some sort of it. I haven't reached out to them. I'd have to go hunting for who they are and get a better idea of, if they have something like that. Of the departments I know and talk to regularly, that's just about us at the moment that are doing on-call.
Well, I would suggest for the immediate, if we would go ahead and follow our already on-call procedure that we have, if we're going to go ahead and be doing on-call right now, that would be our recommendation.
Which is,
You get a 2-hour minimum.
the police get the same as the public works do?
Yes, yeah, it'd be the same on-call at the Public Works. Well, we already have that established. I think that would probably be the easiest way for the immediate.
What's currently happening now, Jim?
They get a 2-hour minimum, which I think might be tricky with police, just because they might
Yes,
get
I'm
called
saying,
out and then
what's
get called
happening
out
with the
again.
police? I mean, what are you doing with the police department now?
Nothing.
Okay, so, yeah, I think, because as far as on-call compensation, it depends on the facts, and then it's just fact specific. So it's basically to measure how much their ability to have personal time is impacted. So it's not necessarily that, that they're on call, they're not entitled to compensation just because they're on call, it's just how much it's restricted. So obviously, if they're required to be, within 2 minutes of City Hall, that's one thing, but if the expectation is they would be able to respond within a certain amount of time, that they're allowed to be at home and do personal activities. Those usually aren't something that they require, but can require. So it just, I'd say maybe if you want to write up a proposal for what your expectation is as chief on how quick they should respond and present that.
They have a 30-minute response time.
Well, as far as who's on call, I mean, what's the situation now? I mean, do you have certain officers on call now, or do you just have them scheduled?
There's, the last week I did very short hours.
Mhm.
And I had no calls. I drove my personal vehicle home.
Mhm.
I took it because it was until I got situation under control. That's why I just did it on contact group. So, now, having said that, I don't want to do it all the time to restrict activities, but, this is why I kind of did a short term just until we kind of get some kind of idea of a plan or something in place to compensate them for being on call, which, I mean, initially, my idea of being on call is I would expect a rapid response of, you get a phone call, okay, get dressed and get in the vehicle and go. I would not expect them to have the ability to go to Topeka, to Sam's Club or something, go shopping with their family. You're just like when we're working, if we're on call or when we're out eating, if you're at home, you get the call, you drop what you're doing and you go. So there would be some expectation on my part of the quick response, limiting their abilities. Obviously, the time of the day plays a big factor. If I'm in the middle of the night, I'm sleeping, so I'm not going to Sam's Club to go shopping, so I'm at home. One of the options, which I don't like for on-call, it's very infrequent, but you end up with a very longer period of on-call, which is why I don't like that. then obviously your restrictions go up because now you're potentially putting on call during times of the day where they could do something. So going shopping, going watching a movie, running to Walmart, going out to eat, things like that, where the more you can limit those times to hours that it normally wouldn't be an interruption, obviously the better for them and for us of, how much you're restricting their abilities, so.
I would like you to include your thoughts on taking the vehicle home. Because on call, chances are, if you're called out to something, it's probably gonna be something that needs a quick response time. And you're not gonna have time to come to town and change a vehicle and, there's 5 minutes lost and 5 minutes can be a lot.
It is, there's, obviously, yes, the lights and sirens allows me the ability to drive faster than I am going to in my personal vehicle. Plus you don't have the time to come in here, clock in, grab a vehicle and then go, which, 5 minutes worth, 10 minutes worth, maybe that it's gonna add. And obviously some of us live farther away than others. Most of us are pretty close to the same distance, just depending on which direction we're coming from.
5 or 10 minutes can be a lot in an emergency
Yes.
situation.
It can be. The other factor to that too is you obviously have more expense with the gas, wear and tear on the vehicles. A consideration to think of is if I'm responding to a call in my personal vehicle and there's lots of critters out there that, and that's kind of on me versus police department. That is another potential factor to think about of I'm running lights and sirens from my house and raccoon, some other critter runs out in front of me, causes damage that's now a city vehicle, it's gotta be repaired. So there are a lot of factors to it.
I think we need more information. Like I said, if we're thinking about taking a car home, we need to know how that's gonna impact your budget. We need to know about the wear and tear miles, gas. Because over the summer, over the last 2 years, vehicles were not supposed to be sitting idle, all those things to work on the budget. So your budget is set, so we need to know those things. So who you're gonna put on call, how far they live from here, how far their response time is. I think those are all things that need to be considered. And we really need that information before we can make an educated decision on it.
Any other questions on that topic? Okay, the other thing I have is code, which now later, I didn't look at the agenda, so I don't know when it was on there.
Right, that was good.
Okay. I know I got a stack here. I'm not positive, but I believe all of these houses have had the resolution passed where the houses can be demolished if pending budget money set aside for it or what have you. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Some of these, probably a good half of these have solved the problems that can be taken off the list, at least of what. In looking through the files, what I've been going off of is the information that I have to determine what needed to be fixed for the put it on the demolition list. Most of the houses have other code issues that need to be addressed at some point, but they weren't necessarily included in the demolition list. So I've checked all of the houses to looking for updates if things have been fixed. I don't know if a motion or something needs to be made to take them off the demolition list, or if I just file files away. I don't know how that works, so.
These are the ones that we had the second publication on. So basically, it allows for us to remedy it. And so if you believe it's been remedied, then there's usually not further action required if everybody's in agreement not to tear down.
Okay. So there's I'll go through those first. The one property at 1540 Central, It was over a garage. The garage has been torn down. It's no longer existent. The 1530 Central was, I believe that was another garage issue that the garage was short up. It's been painted. They have a handyman that came in and fixed it for them. They wisely hired that same handyman to do some work on the house, which there was some house issues that weren't on, didn't put them on the demolition for the house issues, but they already hired him to help take care of some of those issues too. The 303 East 9th Street, that was the one we discussed at the last commission meeting that had, the problems were fixed, but it still needs some paint. That it just, with the weather, I understand the gentleman had some medical issues that need to be taken care of.
What was that under, Steve?
The 303 East 9th.
Accurate.
Yeah, it was, they said there's some other code issues, but not what put it on the demolition list. So as far as that goes, it was just the paint that hasn't been done yet. Some primer was put on, but when the weather started turning, and I'm assuming that's why you stopped till the warmer warms up again. The 318 East 12th, the Peters residence, they have made some progress. I understand it's already on the list. That's one that you have to make a decision of whether you want to give them more time. There was a porch that they tore the old porch off and put a new, just a basic porch down in its place. I believe some windows were boarded over to cover up the openings where the glasses was broken.
Oh, yeah, so Kim, what I'm showing is that those, I think the ones he's mentioning were on the first initial.
Yes, we only put two on that.
Then we only had two on the September 18th. That's 245 East 10th, which is Dobson, and then 240 East 6th, which was listed under Elliott.
Correct.
So I think those are the ones that were on the resolution authorizing abatement or removal. Those others were not, they did not make it to this stage because I think they were going to do something.
Okay, so those can just be set aside. If they
So
fix
well, you
it,
can
they're-
let me know, because what will be required if we want any of the ones that were not on the resolution from October, if we want those to be torn down, we would have to go to that next stage on the resolution and publish on those again. There's a second publication, so only ones that are ripe for tear down after they had their public hearing with the commission was those two properties.
Okay,
245 East 10th.
okay. The 245 East 10th, the Dobsons, there's been no progress on it at all. That's the one I believe the owners were potentially in rehab or somewhere. Yeah, we contact with them. Not even sure where they are. There is a person currently living in the house. I don't believe he's paying rent or anything. I think he's just staying with permission, but there's been no activity, no improvements, nothing since July, I think was the last picture, besides the ones that we've taken. I think that was the last picture that was taken. But nothing's been done since then.
And that one, in your opinion on that one, is that is subject to tear down then, it's not repairable?
Going off the information I had that put it on the list, I would say that it's in the same condition it was that put it on the list to tear down, so. The 240 East the Elliott House, everything that was put it on the demolition list has been repaired. The holes in the soffits have been covered up, the shed, all the holes have been patched, the roof has been patched with tin, with a ridge cap. The windows were taken care of some, a little bit of the siding has been nailed back up, which the where the siding was looser, some of them are still hanging, but there's no, I'm not sure if that's what put it on the list or not, but there's no holes underneath the house. Mr. Elliott, talking with him, I just gave him a suggestion that it wasn't part of the list. He did spray some insulation into the cracks on the foundation to help shore that up too, to cover up the cracks so we didn't have animals and wildlife things going into the basement to further the problems. And as far as I can tell, of the items that put it on the list for the demolition, we satisfied as far as what I can tell from the code, we satisfied what put it on the list.
Do you have the pictures we can look at in comparison of what it was to what it is?
These are this top stack was taken this morning and, nope, that's November. That's what it looks like now. These are from April. I have discussed with Mr. Elliott, there are numerous other code violations that will be addressed, but we were focusing first on the demolition list because the rest didn't matter if the house got demolished. So
Anybody want to?
What is there that we can do, Kevin, on the 245 East 10th, where they haven't been able to make contact with the owner of the property, and there's somebody habiting in that property?
Yeah, so there'll be two issues. As far as other individuals, there was publication notice, and I would have to check and see if, I think the Chief Bowler was involved. My understanding there was service on them. Statute calls for a publication notice and then a certified mailing to them. So my understanding all of that is done, and that would be deemed sufficient notice. As far as the person in there, I wasn't aware of that until tonight. So I'll address that with the chief. There are some things that we'll need to address. In other words, we can't have a wrecking ball while they're sitting on the couch in the living room. So we'll have to address that issue with them. So, but they're past their time, so I mean, I think it can be addressed. And then as far as Mr. Elliott, if it's opinion of our chief that the conditions that led to it being on the resolution, the demo resolution, have been addressed, then we would not proceed with demolition on that. It does not mean it's not subject to our nuisance ordinance through municipal court. So, I mean, that can still be, officers can file a complaint for being a violation of the nuisance code. That doesn't excuse it from that.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So we'll just wait to hear back from you how to handle.
Oh, yeah,
Sounds like it's just.
Chief Intricate and I can get together on, it looks like the only one right now subject to the demo would be 245 East 10th, and we'll just need to address If there's some holdover tenant or some tenant in there, we'll have to address that. Do you know who it is?
I don't know his name. He was a gentleman that lived on.
See, the person living in it?
Yeah, the person living in it.
And you guys had contact with them?
We did.
2 weeks ago.
No.
I think it's Irishman.
Yeah, he's,
If he's in, I mean, there's some things, but I won't talk about too much at public meeting, but he could be in violation of the nuisance ordinance as well by residing there since he's in control of residents at this point, so. So, yeah.
who's that guy? Oh, so he's not there.
No, he's.
Oh, right, but he's not in there at the moment.
No,
As he was in the, it was showing dispatch, there was a medical call there, so he is still
Robert
there.
Ashman was who's
Okay. So I'll get with you tomorrow, then we can address our options on him, so.
Okay.
How much money's left in our demo budget?
Who's moving into your house?
Is Robert living over there? Roy?
Yeah,
Over on 245 East 10th?
that's what picking up last night on the floor.
Yeah, Tyler's house.
Is there anybody in that house now?
There last night.
Yeah, I remember he's on the second floor, so we've had him.
Does that fund roll over next year?
That does not roll over. I mean, I would recommend you go ahead and, if you haven't contacted the demo contractors and have them get you a bid so we can
Yeah.
potentially demo it in December before the end of the year, because otherwise that money doesn't roll over and we do.
I tried 2 of them repeatedly and I haven't got a phone call back yet. I think those are ones that we've used in the past before. The only thing I know to do is to start Googling people from here if I can't get them to respond or.
If you need help, I got cell numbers of the ones I think that would be out.
There's nothing to prevent us from proceeding at this point in time. I'll just address how we can address somebody that may be holding over in there for some reason, so.
Anything else?
That's all.
You have room in your salaries this year, probably to do any bonuses for your 2 dispatchers that's been taken on the heavy work.
Possibly, yes. I would imagine that there's gonna be some. I'm not sure yet. I was trying to wait till I got through the December, so I knew roughly what I had for a month of how much extra was gonna be in there.
Do a 10-minute executive session to discuss acquisition of property.
I'll make a motion to go in a 10-minute executive session to include the council, the city attorney, and the city administrator.
And then before potential acquisition of real estate.
Motion on the table by Commissioner Buller. Second by Commissioner West. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.
Crazy. take the boat ramp first, I also submitted a map with maybe, that's right. Yeah, it's got a little blue drawing there. It's listed as boat ramp. We've had some concerns. The water is extremely low everywhere due to lack of rain. We have a 30-foot boat ramp out there. It says caution, 30-foot ramp. But I've had some boaters say that they backed their trailer off in there and may cause some damage, but obviously the water, so they have to go back farther with their boat. When they got a huge pontoon boat or a large boat, that's what they gotta do in order to get their prop in the water, et cetera. With that being said, even though there's a drop off, we don't know, we think there's about a 2-foot drop off. One of the public works employees jumped in there and he went off a little way, so it's probably estimated 2-foot drop off. So it does need some repair. We don't have the equipment to adequately do it. I had Randy out there. I called Department of Wildlife and Parks and had their area supervisor come up last week. And he suggested we add rock to the end of it, big rock, so it don't float away. And, but that's an option, so. Regardless, we need to spend some money. We're gonna probably have to hire a contractor or some equipment to come in with a long arm reach to get some rock down in there. Which leads me to number 2, camping spots that I have here in front of you. I've got a camper that wants to come in and develop, at the current time, 3 spots to the very north end of the west side of the lake. It's actually PJ Aller. I've also talked to him previously about doing the boat ramp work, because he's got the long arm reacher, he's got the equipment to do it. So I've been talking to him about doing that for a couple months. As soon as boating season, we're trying to get there and get that repaired, as well as a camping spot. So he finally called me Saturday and wanted to come down and go mark off spots on the north end of the lake. I have addressed this with the park board for 2 meetings at least, 2 or 3 meetings. They don't seem to have a problem. It's in the very woody area that you come up the hill on the very far north end. It abuts a couple of properties, but the properties are off to the back and there's just a whole bunch of wood and brush in there. So he is willing to come in and develop the spots. His estimate's about $5,000–6,000 worth of gravel. He'll put in a tube for drainage. He'll clear out all the brush in that area. And I asked him about the same time if he would come down and fix our boat ramp. So he's a boat ramp, bigger project at Glen Elder Lake coming up. And he's gonna be moving his equipment out there, so he acts like he wants to get on this development of these spots pretty quick, possibly in a week or 2. I think personally, having somebody deploy their equipment down here, he's also willing to haul riprap. He thinks we need to get some good riprap like the KDOT uses on the side of the highways and places. He's willing to haul it for us wherever at no charge. He's willing to do the work. He's willing to develop them spots. Typically, what I have done is anybody that wanted to develop a spot, they paid for the gravel, they done the work. We put in the pole transformer, meter stack, whatever, but they had to develop their spot and they still paid for their annual fee. However, with him, we can do it 2 ways, but I think it would be worth negotiating with him a couple, 2 or 3 years of free spot, not free electricity, but if he wants to put $10,000 in develop spots and wants to do $3,000 to $5,000 work on our boat ramp, I think it's pretty good trade-off. So I'm just wanting to know if you think that's the way to go, or if you want me to just tell him he's gonna have to pay for his annual fee, even if he does develop them, and then us just hire him to do the boat ramp. But I think we'll be money ahead by negotiating something with him with.
So he's wanting to develop 3 spots here for himself?
Him, and he's got 2 others that are willing to, and I don't know who they are. I would say they're relatives, friends, whatever. I didn't ask him that.
Well, if they're gonna do that, I don't think we pay for that at all, but I would like the chance to go out there and look at that area before I make a decision.
It's well within on our property, right?
Yeah, and I kind of marked that as well in there. It's kind of the area he wants to develop.
There's a fence right back in behind there,
Yeah,
isn't there?
but it's back in there a ways from where he would put.
I'm fine if you want to negotiate with him and just put it in writing. So
What was the recommendation of the park board?
Yeah, they didn't have any problem with it. They thought it'd be a good deal.
Now, I will tell you, in all honesty, the park board doesn't know anything about it. He just come in this morning that I've discussed with him that he wanted to develop the spots, but I have not discussed with, this is just, we're gonna have to spend money on the boat ramp, and I know what it's gonna cost to get somebody to come in and do that. And I'm just saying,
Look into it.
it's just use the property if he develops them. I mean, we got 3 spots that for many years, we're gonna be able to get revenue off of. However many years beyond.
That boat ramp in, when we dredged the lake, that was put in at the Kansas Department of Wildlife specifications. So if it's too short for some boats, maybe some boats are just too big for the lake. I don't know, but I do know that myself and 3 other employees poured that boat ramp in there. And Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks sent 2 employees up to tell us how big, how to make it, and then they assisted in us putting it in. And there was riprap, gravel at the bottom of it and everything else. And I think it's just going to be a maintenance issue that you're going to probably have to deal with every 5 years, 10 years, who knows how long. But it was built by a standard that they come up with. So, the higher the lake is, the longer your ramp. The lower your lake is, the shorter your ramp.
Right.
And the smaller boats you need to put on it, if you care about your boat.
As long enough for my canoe. So I can put my canoe down.
I think you ought to look into it, see what he'd say and what the price is and come back. That'd be my suggestion.
Well, the only problem is like I said, he told me he's got a job at Glen Elder, and he doesn't like the timing of it, because he said, I don't know why everybody always waits till it gets cold, freezing. I don't want to work on a boat ramp, but he said, that's the way it is. And he said, I'm gonna move my equipment out there soon. So I said, well, I'm not sure I can get you an answer tonight, but it sounds like before we'd have our next meeting, he may want to start working on it. But again, I just told him that was up to you guys as to whether we move forward or not. But I honestly think if we tell him no and it doesn't get done, we're still gonna have to pay somebody to do the boat ramp. I'm guessing just to bring the equipment in, they're gonna charge us $1,500, $2,000.
Yeah.
And then $200 or $300 an hour probably. And then hauling the riprap, if that's the way we gotta do it.
It's gonna be expensive.
So. Our only expense would be, we may have to run a power pole. I think there's already a nice pole up there. We just may have to put a transformer up there and feed those 5 campers on that side would be our only expense.
And the riprap.
Plus riprap would be, he'd haul the riprap for free, but he's not gonna pay for the riprap. And that's probably gonna be, I'm guessing,
That's for the boat ramp.
Yeah.
The riprap.
$1,500. He would take care of everything on his gravel tube, putting the tube in, everything up on the north end.
I'm good with it.
I'm good with it.
Just like I said, in writing would be nice.
See, if you wanna go look and just call me tomorrow or in the next day or two. I mean, he can start next day or two, but possibly this weekend or next week. just tell me if you got any issues with it. I mean, I appreciate hearing that. It'll be a big improvement, and he's got the equipment to do it right.
His equipment's a half mile north of town right now.
Yeah, sitting on the,
It's set on the side of the highway.
on the east
That
side of the
extended,
highway.
that extended, yep.
He won't be paying to do those spots or put the rock in his spots, right?
No.
He will be paying for all of that.
Everything except for just the power.
Everything except for the power cord transformer, we put that in, and that's something we've usually done, and we recoup our costs through the years. I did tell him we would not give him free electricity, you know, he'd have to pay for that. His equipment's a half mile north or somebody else's?
It says all are on it says all are on the mast.
That's probably why he's wanting to.
Yeah, it's the long, it's the Traco with the long arms,
Probably
so.
why he's wanting to.
That's not my house. 2 weeks ago, it was on my house.
That's where it's still at.
So that's what I-
Yeah.
I thought it moved south some.
Huh?
No, it's farther south now, isn't it?
Last I seen it was there, but I didn't pay
My
attention.
house.
It's not far away.
That machine would be really handy to talk to him about the little lake, about the north end of it, because he could go out on that island and reach out 60 feet.
But you can only get so close to it, and that's a pretty heavy machine, so,
Yeah.
you know.
He's got a couple of machines. I think he said he wouldn't have to use his long arm, or he wouldn't use the biggest machine he's got, but the one he could reach the dock and do that one. I think his long arms, I don't know if his long arms
It's big.
are that close or not, but
As long as where it's north of my house.
well, then maybe he knows I don't. But yeah, that might be something else I can throw at him when he's here, but he does say he's going to Glen Elder here pretty quick. December the 7th, Carmel and I talked to TMEA while we were at the conference, and it kind of started where we've talked for a couple years off and on about a line crew in the area that would cost us some money, but we're trying to get some entities, Sabetha, Seneca, Troy, Robinson, Elwood, a bunch of entities up this way. And they've already got a crew in,
We got a Mid-States crew, which I think Mid-States is the biggest. And then,
South Topeka. Anyway, they got a crew that works there, and they got a crew that works in Dayton. I think they got 2 line crews right now. We're trying to get them one in Northeast Kansas, so we want to do that. And then I just wanted to have a meeting with other city administrators in the area and talk about sharing resources. So anyway, we've set up a meeting. We're gonna host it. KMEA is kind of facilitating it, but we're gonna host it at the Blue Building on December 7th. So I would assume we kind of started out being, I assume we'll probably have our linemen, if there's any commission that wants to come, let me know, because I don't think we're gonna kick anybody out, but we're gonna start basically with the agenda there, and then we're gonna have a round table if we needed to break up with commissioners visiting, just anything and everything we're gonna talk about for 3 or 4 hours. We will be having a housing assessment meeting again. I think that is, I didn't write down the date, but I think it's next Monday. No, Tuesday probably. Anyway, next week, we're having another housing assessment meeting to do some follow-up. Garrett says he is, still don't know that it's, I guess he'll tell us whether he's got contractors lined up, but he more or less just told me over the phone that he's got Hiawatha and I think Troy both on board to share the cost of facilitating and doing the training for the contractors, so. I don't know what else is gonna be discussed at that time, but that'll be next week. I sat through a webinar today with the Department of Energy regarding, some more money that became available last Thursday by the governor for, substation upgrades. So it's all in this 4101D. Now there's a 4101C, there's a 4101. Just there's letters behind it, but there's still options. So we met I think it's been since the last meeting, but Brian and Carmella and I met with Mid-States, KMA, and they're supposed to have us a plan by the end of this month, a drawing and some new estimates for upgrading our substation. So there is money available. I'm looking at 2 of them different 4101 grants, but I think either one of them are fitting. So I'm working with KMA on them. I also shared a letter with you, I think, in which it's gonna be, I haven't sent it out yet. I wrote it Friday, but, and maybe you guys can help me with getting some letters of support to, one of them is the T-Mobile grant. I need 5 letters of support. But for mural art, to do some more mural artwork in the community. So I need 5 letters of support from various entities. So if you know of any organizations that could write a letter of support, I'd like to get them so I can finish up at least the T-Mobile grant, and then there's a couple others.
It'd be like HIDC in South Brown County.
Chamber of Commerce, HIDC, Ministerial Alliance, I mean, any of those, and I'll send them out to as many people as I can, but if you run into somebody, I'll probably put that on the website too, or have them put it on our Facebook page. I believe that is all I have, because it would be a great night to get home early enough to watch the Chiefs.
We have any updates on the stuff that Mr. Dickinson had brought up the last meeting?
I am supposed to have something back by Wednesday. I sent that in to K-Camp, and I did show Kevin an email, but I got an email. There's something through K-Camp, a free program on mineral that goes through human resource laws, etc. And the email I got back from K-Camp was that they turned it over to them last week, and I should have an answer by Wednesday from them. And then, depending on how that comes out, I can have Kevin review it, but that is a free service that we pay for through K-Camp.
So we wouldn't really know then until Wednesday whether we should adopt the state of Kansas's application form instead of ours.
Yeah, I mean, I basically sent them our full everything, and I asked them to review. I didn't tell them a lot of details. I said, please review our application for federal law compatibility and add, delete, make suggestions. So,
Maybe
I mean, that doesn't mean if you want to adopt something, you can adopt something, but
yeah, that, or at least maybe the ones that are, the ones that are under scrutiny, that maybe we don't have anybody that fills out applications here until we find out, don't have them fill out the information on this. Let's see which one it was, the authority of release and the, there's no issue, but yeah, it's the one to see the authority of release and see the deposits and withdrawals. Maybe just, if we accept any applications until we hear from it, maybe we just don't ask them to fill that information out. Steve?
Mr. Mayor, if I may. Yes, the part of the application there where the bank accounts are, it does not say doing a credit check. You can do a credit check. That's not the problem. It's saying going into the bank accounts to see all the withdrawals, all the deposits from, and no time limit. Also, the other thing that is incorrect on there is the fact you cannot legally before you have made an offer to somebody to work for you, you cannot go in and ask them their date of birth or place of birth. Those are two huge no-nos. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
That's the one we've used for years, so it hasn't been changed recently, but, and it was adopted from somewhere, I'm sure, but, I mean, obviously, I don't have a problem looking through it, and I'm not saying, but I will tell you that, and I'm sure Kim can tell you the same thing, I don't know that we've ever checked. I mean, it does say that, I reread it, but
That's what it says.
but we have never checked. We basically, and I don't even really think we've checked backgrounds now. We did a more thorough background recently on our chief of police applicants than we've ever did because we had a neutral party do that. And they have a lot of programs where they can go in and check. I mean, it shows you bankruptcies, it shows you repossessions, it shows all that stuff on a financial background check. But that's what it's for. But it does say that, so I'm not disagreeing with you
Right.
there at all.
I just don't want to get into,
Yeah.
I don't want us to be liable for something.
So I think we'll wait, get that back, and we can withhold anybody filling that portion out. Now, we usually just do it ahead of time, and usually, I know when people have emailed them into us, they get them notarized, and then they email it into us, but you got some legitimate concerns, so we'll look into it and get it straightened out.
Where are we in applicants? Do we have any spots still open throughout the city?
We definitely do, police wise,
Yeah.
public works wise. I mean, we've had discussion back and forth. I personally say we probably could hire another one, in public works if one comes along, but again, we're gonna have to look at what but I did hire one that was seasonal finally, full time, so we filled that.
Okay.
And technically, we are getting along halfway decent. The guys are doing a great job. And I will tell you, Randy and I, as I get applications, Randy and I visit with him, and if there's some we've interviewed and didn't want to go that way, and some of them we chose not to interview, but usually it's a public works applicant. Randy and I discuss it together. But we're not being flooded with applications, I can tell you that.
And the last thing that I have would be is for the commission to, think about, bonuses at the end of the year. If we're gonna do them, who we're gonna do them with.
I actually worked up a plan. It was on my agenda for bonuses.
Plan. Commissioner Lovelady,
I don't have anything.
Commissioner West,
Um,
or
So we still have the ARPA fund, we're allowed to use that. I think it would be nice to give our employees a bonus now, so that they do have time to use it for the holiday season. I believe in compensating our employees that have been here, stayed here a little bit more than some of our newer ones. I think that just goes to longevity. I think sometimes those things get forgotten. ARPA was given to us to be able to use it for those kind of things. So I think people who have been employed with the city since 2020 during COVID, when things were very difficult, out of ARPA should be given a $2,000 Christmas bonus. Employees that have been here from there to a year, I would suggest $1,000 Christmas bonus. Anybody who's been here under a year, I would suggest a $750. And then I think we've had some really good seasonal mowers. And I don't think that it would hurt to give our seasonal people a $300 bonus that were here this summer and helped clean up things. That's my proposal for a Christmas bonus out of ARPA. And I know Bob actually stayed over and helped.
Bob's been doing a lot of fresh work.
Yeah.
The only other one, I don't care what you do, I don't wanna forget that man right there. He's on a seasonal mower, but he's, Kim Moeco, Randy Moeco, does a lot for us. So, however you wanna include him, if you wanna include him with the, if you consider that, but he definitely needs to, whatever you decide, he needs to be considered.
How long you been doing the,
This is year 3.
Year three?
Year 3.
Wow.
I would be fine including him in the
seasonal mower one.
since he's been here for 3 years. I know he actually sliced work. That was my,
Well, Spiceworks?
yeah. When I said, hey, create this program and you created, you had the program. I think it would keep him in the $1,000 since he's been doing this for 3 years. And I don't know that did you get a Christmas bonus previously? Okay.
I would like to add pool, the manager and assistant manager in there somewhere. Well, they've been here.
We didn't have a assistant manager this year, but our manager's been here a long time.
So the question is, it's come, I know the county, when they have the ARPA funds, they have a separate auditor that reviews the proposed expenditure of ARPA funds. So I know the county did do, I don't know if they call them bonuses, but in a sense, that's what people considered them. And it was for employees who were working at the time that COVID was. And so I don't know if employees, they had a specific time frame that they had to have worked to be eligible. So it might be something to check with the auditor. Now, you don't have a specific auditor for ARPA funds, do you? So your usual auditor might be able just to provide guidance just to make sure.
Did last year, did we give bonuses out of ARPA?
Yeah.
1,500. Yeah, and so I think that as far as which employees, just to make sure if it's an employee who wasn't employed here during COVID, just to make sure if that's something you're proposing, to make sure there's not there are some restrictions. I would say you could make a condition if you're making a motion, make a condition on the auditor approving of what you're proposing.
And or employees that wasn't employed during that time frame would have to come out of respective departments. Your short-termers could come out
Out of their fund.
out of their department
Yeah.
budgets.
Where would you like to put the pool manager?
She worked during COVID. She's the one that made sure our pool got open during COVID, when nobody else's was open.
So do you want to put her in the,
I was writing the numbers down like 2,000, 1,000, 750. So what was the?
seasonal is 300. Anybody under the 2020, so for the 3 to 1 year, is that how you have, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't write the years down. I only got them
Okay.
fast enough that I didn't get the years.
It went 2,000, 1,000.
Uh,
Anybody who has been here under a year was 750, the seasonal was 300. Does that make,
I would say that she would fall into the 1,000 one with the, if she was here through COVID.
I'm fine, that's where we put Andrew, he was here that time, so. This is just my suggestion, I mean, if somebody has a better suggestion or wants something different, but I think we need to do it now before the Christmas season, we always wait till December. But as long as our auditor is fine with it, use it out of ARPA, if we have to adjust it to use it out of department head.
How much total are we looking at?
Usually we have 22 full timers, so if you went max on 22, which we wouldn't, they wouldn't all fall under that, but 22, that's 44,000. Your seasonals, I'm guessing you're looking at 55, 60,000, if, that'd be high. Probably,
That would be everybody getting.
probably in the 40,000. We had roughly, I think, 120,000.
That's around
We have
40,000.
120,000.
I'd say around 40,000, because we don't have, you said 2,000 since 2020,
Mhm.
so, yeah, I would say around 40,000, I had to guess.
And I think that's where I calculated if I kind of went shot right in the middle of the numbers. But I think those that have been here the longest should be compensated a little more.
I'm only counting around 10 that were here the whole time.
Yeah. And then it falls off from there.
I don't think it would be any more than 40,000.
I'm actually thinking what taxes and everything.
Yeah, I think it's called, premium pay, so you might check with him on that instead of bonuses. I think it's just called premium pay. They don't like that word bonus for some reason. So premium payment, yeah, there's a lot of restrictions as far as dates and where it goes back to and the non-exempt employees. So yeah, I would say just, and it would be in time for, when is it, 1, 2, 3, the 4th is our next meeting.
Mhm.
That way it'd still be in time for Christmas. If you had your proposal and then run it by the auditor and have a formal agreement to disperse it on that date, that'd give them time to have the auditor just review what you're proposing.
Mike would be under full-time.
Does that,
Mike?
how does that affect, because he's a,
Well, he's in, I mean, he works year round for us, and Mike does too.
Seasonal contract, but.
Mike
I just
does,
didn't know how
You go
it.
the years, you go the years.
Mhm.
You don't go by the title necessarily, you just go by the years,
Yeah.
years of service. It's kind of two different ways to look at it, which is whatever, it's fine, just as long as it includes everybody, I don't care. I just don't want anybody forgotten, that they get a list,
Yep, I'll make up a list.
and then we'll know exactly, and then there won't be any disputes. Won't-
Right, well, and that's why I wanted to include the seasonal workers, so I think they did a really good job. They had a hot summer to work through. Like I said, Bob has actually stayed a little bit longer than helping clear brush and stuff, so. And
Sounds good to me.
that's kind of the other reason I'm kind of keeping him, letting him work a little bit. He's not necessarily, but that extra person, it gives Randy an extra hand.
He's still clearing brush right now.
And he's helping a lot with.
As long as he doesn't get burnt out.
There's been times where he asked me to quit, but this last time he wanted to start early and wants to work late, so I don't know what's changed.
But, so that's my proposal on Christmas bonuses, provided the auditor clears it. I guess we will see what.
And we
they
can, come up with a figure, Kim can come up with a figure on, the ones that weren't here, if it has to come out of department budgets as opposed to out of ARPA.
Sounds good. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Commissioner Knight?
I was just looking back, the Mission Lake thing, you know, you said it would be 100-year celebration in May this year. Are you gonna like maybe work with a group to try to come up with some ways to do that? Are
I will
we
say-
going to, are you going to? I just want us to have a direction to go so that we're planning.
I will say the chamber has got their activities planned that same weekend that the 100th birthday falls on. That doesn't mean we can't add to it or none of the other organizations. I think we ought to make it a big, so that's one of our biggest assets, Mission Lake. So again, that's something I think all the organizations, if they want to play a part in it, if the city wants to do something special, but I know the chamber's already got a band scheduled and probably having that ordeal at Hickory Point, so that's about all I know at this point.
Okay, and then just the housing, the cleanup plan, have you thought any more about that? Like if we're gonna get a group to work on that, or, you know, when Garrett was here, he talked about having like a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year plan as far as where have you thought anything more about that?
No, honestly, I haven't. Maybe that's something we can discuss.
I have a couple ideas, I'll just bring them to you later and we can talk about
If you
them.
get them to me before next week. Well, I know we got a holiday, but if you get them to me before Monday, that'd be nice. We can discuss it in our housing assessment team.
Do my best.
He's coming on Monday for sure.
Hmm?
He's coming on Monday.
Find it.
Maybe.
Did you get the email? He said he only got 2 responses so far, Kelsey and I. So, but he said he's gonna go ahead and plan it, so it's. uh, 28th at 1.
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I want to see.
So that's not.
I got a couple questions.
Okay.
That it? Anything else?
Mr. Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Motion on table by Commissioner West,
Second.
second by Commissioner Fuller, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any motion carries?